Hey folks, welcome back to Cannock Chase Paranormal. I hope you're well. Hope you've been having a great beginning to 2023. We're now into February, so with the weather that's been quite nice this week, I'm really sort of itching to get back down to Cannock Chase, either during the daylight or at night time with my team. Trying to find somewhere new and fresh to investigate. But the old places are still really interesting locations to visit. So I wanted to kind of bring you this video from September 2022. So not that long ago, but it feels like years ago now in my mind. And we were to investigate two locations, both sort of down from the German cemetery. And the first location was an area of, it had quite a tragic I don't really like talking about people that murder people, because I don't want to come across like that I'm a bit ghoulish about these things. But in 1960, I think it was 1965, over a period of a couple of years, there was a gentleman called Leslie Morris, and he horribly murdered 3 girls from, I think, from the local area, maybe from Warsaw, and I believe he dumped all 3 bodies on Cannock Chase. And I just can't think of anything more horrific for the families involved that this would have happened. But it kind of got me thinking about, again, I don't want to come across sounding really ghoulish. This is one of the reasons why I don't like to go out and investigate places that are haunted by, that perhaps potentially might be haunted by individuals who have been, brutally killed. And the reason for that is quite simple, because, relatives might still be alive and stuff. But this location was in an area where I believe he had brought one of the deceased children and left the body there. But also this is the area where we've had a lot of other different activity. We've had rocks thrown, we've had something growling at us, possibly a big cat. Possibly the rock throwing was akin to what I've seen in a number of anecdotal accounts of Bigfoot. So it didn't realise that at the time, but all these areas are very, very close to each other. And the other aspect of this area, this first area that we went to on the evening, is that there has been potentially, allegedly, sightings of a black-eyed girl in this area. Now, I'm very kind of like skeptical about things like that, because my first experience of reading about black-eyed children was essentially to do with the US, and that, in a couple of occasions these kids, or maybe one kid or both or 2 children, turn up at somebody's door. They let them in because they think they're lost. They don't really say very much, and then shortly after they are collected by what we would call men in black, and that's the last a household sees of them. And then maybe the couple who are in the home, they start to get ill, radiation type symptoms, and so I've always felt that I've never been able to connect Cannock Chase with black-eyed girls. I know there's a video of a drone flying towards some woods that shows a woman. I would say she was a woman, or a young woman, and in a white dress by the looks of it, with dark hair. For me, that was kind of reminiscent of that horror film, I think it was called The Ring, where it comes out of television and it's, moves towards its victims. And so I'm very much on the wall about videos like that. I don't discount them because I'd like to think I could trust the integrity of the person filming, whether it be with a drone or with a camera, that they are genuinely filming what they believe to be something paranormal. I trust their judgment. Doesn't necessarily mean I ultimately believe what I'm seeing, but there you go. So that was an aspect of where we were, close to this very sad location of a body being left there of a young girl. Very close to where we've had other activity, and then if you were to kind of like continue up the path, pretty close to where I think this drone footage was taken. Now, whether there's any relationship between black-eyed children and the sad deaths of these three girls, I wouldn't want to speculate. But we went there, and we've been there a couple of times. It's always been darn cold as well when we've been there. And in the video, I think I walk off a little bit up this hill, sort of towards the brow of the hill of where the forest starts, and that would be the area where we had the rocks being thrown at us, and where we had a grunting that turned into a growling. So I was kind of feeling pretty brave that night. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video, and we'll basically see, have a look to see what's going on that video, and see what it's about, and then I'll have a talk about it afterwards.
And I am sceptical. I am a sceptical bastard. I'm a sceptical believer.
I'm a believer.
Yeah. Could be an owl. Need to come from that direction. Down to your Bigfoot owl. Remember when we were down there? You did that Bigfoot owl when they were on the bikes.
Oh, that was scary. I've never seen him cycle so fast,
God.
to be honest.
We were walking just down, where we came up, we were walking out there and we stood in the woods. We saw these lights, we went, fuck? Where are these lights coming? Then we realised it was a family riding the bike. So, Mum and Dad and 2 kids going.
At night as well?
At night, yeah, they got the lights on their head. Having a great time going. Watch this, the Bigfoot owl. It was about 90 by the time they got to the top. Was funny though, wasn't it? Definitely a large black cat.
That's a very powerful thing to a black cat.
A large black cat. There's something we've never been a big we saw. up close and personal. And look at things behind the boot.
About 2003, 2004, I think it was. And I saw something from the field. The whole light.
They might be taking research. Because what we really don't know is that they went wrong.
I've just moved away from the group a little bit. I could sort of hear something this way. This is a really steep hill, so I'm not gonna go up it just yet. Just about to see the ridge of it there. It's not too far away, but I mean, what was that? I'm not kidding, I just caught the reflection of something shining, reflection in the torch light. Now, it might be a deer. Lots of wood, so I wouldn't go over there. So, where are we? So we're quite a way down from the German cemetery. It's a long path that leads to the edge of the forest, and we've walked up a path adjacent to the forest because a couple of guys are really interested. To check out an area where, very sadly, a body of a young girl was dumped by, you could call him a serial killer, and I think this was back in the 1960s, and I think his name was Leslie Morris. And we have the theory that if black-eyed girls or anything like that exist on Cannock Chase, it might well be maybe something. Maybe there's a spirit grounded of one of these girls. I'm not sure if all three of them were dumped. It's a horrible expression, really, but I'm not sure if all three of them were found on Cannock Chase. So I haven't really read too much into the backstory of that, but I do know that we are literally on the spot where one of the girls was found. It was a quite despicable crime. There's a plane flight going over. Not sure if this will pick it up. It's definitely a plane. Just about to see it flashing there. Got the red. Yeah, there's red and white lights. So if we could go up here, then that leads us to another crossroads in the forest, and then we're very close to an area where we were stalked by something back in 2015, and the experience I had was that we thought it might have been a wild boar because it was snorting, but then what I found was really strange was that it actually flanked us through the ferns. It seemed to kind of do a slight arc around us and down, and it's my belief that it crossed over the path at the bottom into some shrubs. But when we were supposed to be meeting a few other guys that night, so we travelled back up to the car park of German Cemetery, and when we came back down, they were very sort of sceptical that we had this experience, and not let us in. Probably about a couple of minutes into standing at the crossroads at the bottom, we then heard another snort, a couple of snorts, and then a growl that I can only describe as being somewhere between a big cat and a small cat. So it wasn't like a deep throaty roar, but it was definitely sounded like it was a growl of a cat rather than a dog or anything like that. But we weren't able to fully identify what it was. We saw something move in deep down into the shrubs, into the bushes, and then it was simply gone. But we reckon it was probably about 6 foot, head to tail. Got a real good feeling. I mean, we're in an area as well that is synonymous with supposed werewolf activity. I think there was a story of a guy who, it may have been a postman actually, he was delivering on Cannock Chase. I think there's used to be a caretaker living at the top in the German cemetery. He looked after the German cemetery. I wouldn't live there. And I think this guy was cycling through and he saw what he described as a really large dog, like a fair distance away. And then he was a bit worried because he thought if that's a dog and I only want to encounter that, it might have, got free and it might, rip into me. But what made it really disturbing was that the dog stood up on its legs and was about, he estimated, more than 6 foot. So there's some really creepy, weird stuff going on in Cannock Chase. Some nights I can be up here and it just feels absolutely normal. My local park is Sutton Park, and that is one solid area of land. And again, that probably at some point used to be connected to Cannock Chase for rubber forests and fields and stuff. And I used to, when I first came to Cannock Chase back in 2015, I drew up a kind of comparison between what I experienced in Sutton Park, which was paranormal, and what I experienced in Cannock Chase. And the way I described it was that Sutton Park felt like you were dealing with supernatural, whereas Cannock Chase felt like you were dealing with very real things. So things that could present themselves in a flesh and blood manner. And I do know some of the stories from Sutton Park were quite weird. I've had some crazy experiences up Sutton Park, and I have to maybe talk about a few of them. I'm never sure whether there's a link between my experiences around about the early 80s, or late 70s into the early 80s. I'm never sure whether there's a real link between them and other stuff that was going on. But I think I need to sort of maybe explore them and try and put them into a timeline of stuff that did happen. So it kind of feels fairly quiet and dead here. It's definitely into autumn now because it's a clear night and it feels really, really cold. So that's it for now. So I'm just going back down to where the guys are. I don't know if you can see them. The battery's already going down, so it's just been my luck that the battery dies just as we get some really interesting activity.
Are you talking, Gail?
Oh yes, I was just up there.
You're talking camera.
Yeah, just
But also we saw behind her a massive big black stocky square shape, because she appeared and behind her was this massive black, I reckon it was almost like a black mass, and it come up and down the path. But when I was in the parish house and I said all these things are being thrown, I just felt, you know, like you feel like standing in the middle of the car's coming and you feel like you're going to have to move. I felt like that, and I'm not easily rattled. I felt like something was going to. Do you know that massive opening at the back window? I thought something was going to run in and flatten me. And my mate went round and looked the outside just to make sure it wasn't a deer or something like that.
There's definitely something there.
He stick me in my face, you know, like where I'm with you now, like that in my fucking face. You got it on camera. I'll show you.
I reckon it's the graveyard grim. I reckon it's protecting that graveyard.
Would you say it's more like a negative thing, or is it protecting, stopping people from?
I just think it's there to pick people up. I don't think it's negative. I think if you stand your ground, but it seems to force shape. I mean, we were all, these big tough guys. And I said to everybody, I said, guys, why were we all outside the gate? And they all went, oh, fuck yes. And I driving back in the car, I was thinking, that's a graveyard grim. It's the spirit of the place, it's protecting it. And it's forcing people out. And I think as well, a lot of these things, it's like, it plays on what's in your head.
Yeah, we were saying that.
Now, I've been coming over here for 40 years, right? This place goes in cycles. It's got a yearly cycle of the phenomena you get on the Outstanding Gale is. The yearly cycle of the phenomena you get on here. The one thing that this place does, it gets used to you.
Yeah.
The more you come over, the more it will show you. Whatever's on here is to remain geographically related. Yeah. Something about this area. Something about all this landscape. There's something in this landscape. It's old. It's very, very old, whatever it is. And I've come to that conclusion now.
So that was the video. It does cut off quite abruptly, which I apologise about. Sometimes I get really sort of worked up that I can see the battery light going down. So without kind of warning, I'll kind of close it down. But sometimes I kind of feel like when I review these things, I've missed, maybe an interesting conversation that's going on as well. So we do tend to talk a lot during investigations. We kind of have like one ear on the surroundings, so it is an observational thing, but we have sort of one ear while we're talking and listening with the other ear to what each other's saying, and we do react kind of fairly quickly if we think there's something there, and we go quiet, go silent and listen. Yeah, I mean, it was a really cold night. You saw how bright the moon was. It was really, really cold, and yeah, it was an interesting beginning to the evening, and I am glad that we got to go to this location with a few different people, because I think when you bring different people to a location, there's always a chance that you'll bring in different energy as well. But yeah, enjoyed that. It was very, very quiet. I think what we heard in the background was a few owls. I think there's like one called a long-eared owl, which was perhaps what we could hear. So in the future, I really want to get hold of, and they're pretty cheap anyway. I just need to pull my finger out and buy one, which is like a digital barometer, and so I would like to take more readings of the environment, as many as I can. You can't measure, it's difficult to measure what you believe to be, I don't know, energies of anything that's given, the electromagnetic frequencies. You can measure that, but ultimately there are other things that you can measure which may explain away some of the feelings you get from the environment. So something that gives you the air pressure and stuff like that would be really useful. And also I want to purchase maybe a couple of stopwatches, so I can, maybe if there's ever any time slips, God forbid, who knows, then it's something that we'll be aware of if there's a difference in maybe one stopwatch to another stopwatch. And so if I can purchase, I'll probably purchase a few decent ones of those, and you know, hopefully maybe down the line we can you know, get back to this location. It always seems to be really cold when we go there. But yeah, that's it for now. I'm gonna have the other video. I'll record the other video for the same evening, and hopefully I'll, you know, put them out fairly quickly, one after the other.